We move now to the more technical session, in which we will address an overview of the single intraday coupling, background history, and insight into the operation. I give the floor to Radek Adamek, single intraday coupling TSO's project manager. Radek, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Stefano, it's Andre speaking. I think I take over in the beginning and then I hand over to
sorry, my apologies. So Andre, please.
No problem whatsoever. Yes, welcome everybody. Hello, Andre Estermann, my name. I'm the TSO co-chair of market coupling. I'm extremely happy to be here today. To be honest, whenever we have those events where we extend the topology, this is really a highlight, and not only a highlight in the sense it is one step to fulfill, to have to have the full topology in intraday, as we already have in SDAC. But today, actually, that is the day, or with the go live, we will have the date that the full topology is active by the end of the year. So I think it's a great achievement of all of us that we have now all markets coupled in those relatively those highly important timelines. So just maybe to have some sort of a recap, as you may know, we started quite some time ago with the intraday project. This time it was called the XPRIT project. And for us, the major challenge was in the beginning to understand actually what intraday could mean and how it could work. So when we started the RFO back in 2012, can also remember I was one of relatively early involved in this project. When we approached those the two vendors to find a good way, a good and proper explanation of what we were looking for continuous trading system that was not only able to couple a few markets, but also, but more relevantly, to couple all European markets, all borders, with the cross-zonal capacity that is available and continuously allocate it, but also being able to allocate or to match trades within a zone or a bidding zone. So in order to achieve that, and after a relatively lengthy process, we developed a system with TSOs, NEMOs, and the service provider based on three models. One is the shared order book, where all orders of all traders in Europe are almost in an instance are put together. In the capacity management module, we included all capacities of all TSOs, and with the go live of the fourth wave, we will actually include all zones and all borders, with capacities also being in the future even more dynamic by the inclusion of flow-based, etc. So even here we will have much more dynamic processes as we already have, but I think that's a great step forward. And in the process itself, we also found that there's not a need also for the market participants and the shared order book, but the TSOs also in the capacity management module, but also all parties, NEMOs, TSOs, and others that are involved in the process to get adequate data with relatively short durations and update cycles. Therefore, we came up with the idea of a shipping module to be conducive for all parties to receive in time, in quality, all data, which are of course important in a continuously changing market. So if we move to the next slide, and in all of that, well, of course, what we're talking about, we always did under the vein in order to ensure that CACM is properly implemented. On the next slide, you can see I have some latency here, but maybe I just go ahead. Thank you. So now we have one cross-border trading opportunity, almost at real time, across Europe, matching all orders as set, also allowing for the opportunity to have NEMOs active in multiple areas, but also in single areas, to be working in harmony together. With this huge asset and with the ever increasing need to use the asset, we see that on the one side we see that the change of generation and the renewables in Europe is just ever increasing, and therefore we ensure with a system which continuously can update and can adjust, or market participants can adjust to the infeed of those new types of generation, but also of new types of consumption, such as electric vehicles, to participate to the intraday markets. For us, it's rather important to state at all times that, of course, with a project like that and with a platform like that, the welfare that it is able to generate for all markets, whether they are already liquid or they will be even more liquid in the course of using also liquidity from markets around them or even adjacent markets, brings significant benefits. And we have already calculated last year, or ASA was able to calculate it in last year's in the report for day ahead, but in intraday we see similar welfare gains. For us, with the wholesale market being the milestone, the cornerstone of trading in Europe, bringing spot markets intraday continuously, day ahead markets as well, now with the new idea of having in between auctions, we have a plethora of solutions and options for market participants to participate. So we are extremely proud today and also moving forward with the many projects that we see on the horizon. In its project itself, we see that with the transmission capacity being allocated in intraday, currently in the continuous trading, but also in the auctions later on, plus the introduction in flow-based in many regions, we will even be more dynamic to answer to the needs of the future. And certainly when we talk about the future, a wider product range or a smaller granularity ranging down to 15 minutes is at the forefront. And here, essentially, intraday already leads the way well before day ahead will be prepared to do so. Moving to the next slide, you can see what is in front of us, the many items we had to overcome based on voluntary initiatives dating back to, as said earlier, 2012, and here we depicted until 2013 with the transitional period, business blueprints, redesign of processes, of systems, of contracts, etc. That led to this infamous go live of the first wave in 2018, where not many people were under the belief that this date would be coming, but also that this date would be a decisive game changer in European markets, because the availability, the performance of the system has been beyond outstanding. We are reaching on the daily over the years 99% plus 99.99% availability of the systems, very few downtimes. So the continuous trading system, despite the ever growth of the million of trades we generate over the days, or the market participants generate over the trades, and we as providers have to ensure that they are properly accommodated, show that this system with the various advancements throughout, not just in terms of functionalities, but also the requirements that we include them, are a testament to the work done by all parties, and certainly not just the ones that are already in the project, but also by newcomers, because the newcomers have also been extremely adamant and helpful to take the next steps in order to make the system, the platform, even better. Moving forward to the next slide. And this is, of course, the most beautiful slide that we have, and we can show it in day ahead and intraday. I must say I'm always astounded by the fact that we are having here by far, and I have to underline that, by far the biggest European market coupling in place today in day ahead, and certainly, as we can see here now, also in intraday, with all markets being coupled relatively soon. So by the end of the year, we can close the topology. But as we see, And as we see that the world is also changing around us, the topology keeps on increasing, and I suppose we will always also be happy in the future by welcoming new parties to join this wonderful cooperation and the opportunity also to undergo the decarbonization of European electricity by using important real-time trading opportunities as we provide with the single intraday coupling. So with that said, I would hand over to Radek, and I would very much welcome everybody to take part in the further discussion, and I'm very happy that we have days like this where we extend topology. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Andre, very much. As already introduced, my name is Radek Adamec, and I'm acting as SIDC TSO project manager, and I will finish the rest of slides for this agenda point. So in the slide, you can see that on the project layer, we have 3 layers in the project. So first one on the top is focused on the local implementation projects, where, let's say, several member states represented at least by 1 TSOs and 1 NEMO are involved, mainly to prepare their systems for the integration with the central XBit or, let's say, SIDC solution. And of course, it's including also interfaces between their system and ZNOT system. As a practical example of a local implementation project, we have today LIP 17, which is part of a forward go live wave. In the boxes, you can see the roadmap and progress reporting. Go live roadmap for relevant RIP is always approved on the central level by all TSOs and all NEMOs, mainly in order to align with the project roadmap, which reflects other project activities. So also the project, the progress of this LIP is monitored on the project level. And project level, you can see in the middle as a second layer, which is about cooperation of the TSOs and then NEMOs itself. So we call it a common project, which is governed by operational agreement. And yeah, in this layer, SIDC parties secure the operation of the system, design, development, and also, as you can see on the slide, also the testing. The last layer, the third one, is focused on the relationship with the service provider, because officially there are only NEMOs in the direct contractual relationship with the service provider. However, all topics are pre-aligned between TSOs and NEMOs on the joint level and then presented to the service provider. So on the TSO side, we have full transparency, and we can attend all meetings with the service provider. But mainly for the historical reasons, there are only NEMOs in the direct contractual relationship with the service provider. So in the next slide, we will talk a little bit more about some numbers about SIDC. The current topology of the intraday market contains the 23 countries, as you can see, and the extension will continue by for go live wave. And after that, SIDC will contain 25 countries and cover almost or all Europe, as already stated. So in 2021, the continuous market has grown very significantly. You can see that from the numbers, and since market go live in June 2018, the market is increasing every year. So the size of the market grew from 82 terawatt hours in 2020 to 93 terawatt hours last year. So there is also steady increase in the number of orders executed each day and the numbers of trades matched. So it's evident that the extension to Italy in the third wave go live in September last year contributed to this increase as well. And this growing trend is expected to continue after fourth wave go live, covering extension to Greece and Slovakia. So also from the slide, you can see that in 2021, 2.5 million of orders was daily average, with the maximum reach on the 3rd December. And for number of trades in 2021, more than 60 million of trades was executed via XB system. So in total, since market go live in 2018, more than 132 million of trades was executed via XB system. So we are more than happy that system is used so widely and brings also added value. Maybe as already stated by Andre, the operation is stable, robust, and performing very well. And the availability of the system remains very high. So you can see on the slide that only 73 hours of downtime occurred since first go live and technical go live of the system. And more than 50% of this 73 hours, it means 36 hours, is related to the planned maintenance. Therefore, availability of the system is 99.7%, which is very good. So cut the next slide, please. And this is the last one from my side in the morning session. So the increase of trading activity has also impact on the system boundaries. We agreed for the SIDC solution. So the main system boundaries monitored by SIDC are number of order transactions, you can see in pink on the screen, and the number of trades in orange. And of course, for these parameters, we agreed with the service provider, the SLA in the contract. And from the graph, you can see that these thresholds are being exceeded. So already in the current release, we will deliver improvement of the performance, and these thresholds will significantly increase. But I will talk about it in the afternoon session in part regarding further plans for SIDC. So yeah, that's for now. It's all from my side, and I would like to hand over to Vladimir.
Thank you very much. My name is Vladimir Sotek. I have multiple roles within the SIDC project, starting from being a project manager and secretary for NEMOS, going to the position of chairing a project body which is responsible for the planning of new releases and also responsible for the quality of the project. So my role in this morning session, this presentation, is to guide you a little bit through the technical elements. So I will use a little bit more technical lingo. I hope that it won't be that difficult for you, but the purpose is in principle that you understand how the system is done, and in case you want to raise the questions so that you can really focus on terms and on topics which are important. I'm going to cover here two things. One thing is the system architecture, main principles there. And the second part is kind of follow-up to what Radek already stated, and that's the growing demand to the system and how we are dealing with that demand. So in principle, we target the SIDC, the cooperation, everything what is done. We spend quite a lot of time already touching the topics related to the system, quality of the system, and so on. But we need to understand that this is just, like a vehicle, which is in the slide. And this is not everything that we need to have within the project. We need to have many procedures which organizes the daily work. We need to have many contracts between multiple parties, individual parties, contracts on the borders, and all these things. And when we put all this together, then we are getting to the cooperation and to the overall system which works and which can deliver the value for you. So What I would like to start with is in principle with the vehicle. So if we can go, yeah, thank you. If we can go to the next slide. I try to translate that in the different matter because starting with the technical terms may be quite difficult for some parties, but I think that everybody can drive a car. So we know that there are certain basic components in every car that we have seats, we have, I don't know, fuel in the car, but what we have also, we have cockpit and we have engine and other parts. Now, how we should understand the cooperation and the technical setup of the cooperation. This is important to understand pretty well that SIDC cooperation and especially exhibit system is organized in so-called star way. So you have a central system and then we have a local systems. If I compare it with the car, we can say that the local system is in principle cockpit. This is something what is visible to the market participants, either in terms of the screens that you are using, provided by your NIMOS. In this case, if we talk about the newcomers, so provided by Henex and OKT, or then you can also connect to that via automatic processes, automatic communication. But then what is also important is the engine. This is something which is hidden behind the cockpit, and that's the exhibit solution. That's the central part that is making all the calculations and putting together your inputs and providing the results. And this is very important to understand because you're the only point of the interface with the intraday system is local trading solution. So that's the interface. That's most important for you. And you need to understand that you do not interact directly with the engine which is making the calculations. So what it means, what it implies. If you go to the next slide, you can still compare it with a car. So I think if you, for example, buy a car from the same brand or even from different brands, it can be delivered with the same engine, but you will have a different cockpit. And this is very important to understand that you receive the same information because the information is provided by the central system, but it can be provided in slightly different way. And that depends on the producer of the local trading solution, how this information will be provided. So you get everything, but you get it in the different way. And that's purely in the responsibility of the NIMOS how this will be done. So you get different types of information. You get information on orders, you get information on the trades, but you get also information which helps you understand the situation on market. For the timing is information on hub-to-hub metrics. This is important because it gives you feedback on the availability of capacities in certain way. So you see the picture across the whole Europe, across the whole trading cooperation. What is also important to understand that in principle, each demo has a right to extend services and information which is provided in LTS. So it's important when you communicate with your NIMOS to really describe what do you do, how you do, what is the interface that you're using, because there may be parties who are trading in several market areas, and for that purpose, they may use different LTSs. And as I stated, the same information may be interpreted differently. So this is important to understand. So now let's dive to the central part. So now we will focus on what is the engine and how this engine works. So this is what we call here SIDC matching solution. So we can go to the next slide. So in principle, as it was stated, we have here solution for the continuous trading, for the timing before IDAs are implemented. And the solution is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's how the system is organized. It consists of 3 important modules. The first one is share order book. So this is the module which is collecting the orders from all NEMOs. NEMOs are collecting the orders from market participants, and it stores orders and ensures that the matching is organized. As this is matching across the borders, so it's important to have also CMM, the capacity management module, which provides the capacities of particular borders and helps or provides the necessary information to the matcher to indicate what orders may be matched if they are coming from different areas. So this is quite important. And last but not least, we need to understand what to do with the information which we have. So one thing is that there is a trade, which of course is provided back to the market participants, that there is implication on the available capacities, but at the same time, the trades needs to be shipped from area A to area B, and this needs to be ensured. And therefore, there is also a shipping module which provides the necessary information on the or for the shipping within the market area and also outside the market area. Why within the market area? Because we have different types of market areas. We can have market areas well, there is one NEMO, but we have also market areas with several NEMOs active there, so so-called competitive market areas. And in those areas, it's important to also deliver information on the shipping. So that's what's there. This is how the information goes to the shippers and also provides important information on the settlement of the trade. So if you look on the organization, technical organization of the system from a little bit different perspective, and you will realize that there are certain connections which provide you as a market participant the necessary information. So I already stated that you are connected to the LTS, the trading solution, but there is a little bit more because you need to also settle your transactions. So you also need to be connected to the clearing counterparty system. So I think this is nothing new for you. So far, I was making reference to the local trading solutions, that this is the only sole point for the communication with the central system. There is one, let's say, specific situation for which the market participants may have direct access to the XBIT system, but this is not for implicit trading, and this is only for the explicit allocation. And XBIT is configured in the way that this explicit allocation is supported only on 2 borders. If I remember well, it's on the German-French border and the Croatian-Slovenian border. So that's very limited, but it's important because it is allowed, and especially, for example, with regard to the performance of the system, this is something which needs to be considered. If we look into the details of XBIT as such in the next slide, so we have 2 principal modules, which I already mentioned. So it's SOB, which is responsible for the matching of the incoming trades and storing of the order, or sorry, for the matching of the incoming orders and generating of the trades, storing of the information. There are another parts which are important. So interfaces to the trading system, because without the interfaces, we could not communicate. But what is very important is capacity routing. So this is very, very important to understand if we have orders in different market areas and delivery areas, how we can connect those orders together, how we can create the trade, how we need to route the trade through various market areas, because then you can create a trade where source can be, for example, in Greece, and a sink will be in Portugal or in Norway. So we need to understand the whole route. This is very important information. With regard to the capacity management module, so of course, capacity allocation, this is important. So as I stated, explicit and implicit allocation. So implicit, if you send orders, explicitly there are explicit market participants. It's also important, clear management of the capacities. So all the processes in which parties provide capacities, also important processes which updates the capacity whenever the trade is created and so on. So I will not go down in the technical description, but let's focus on the entities that we need to understand if we trade, and also a little bit on the terms. So let's go in the next slide. Here is important to distinguish between the term market area and delivery area. Why? Because they have different attributes and different meanings. So what's the difference? Market area is in principle area in which you can trade, for which you can send an order, and it will provide a price indication. That's important. Then the delivery area is something which is within the market area. For majority of the markets across the Europe, it will be the same. For example, in Greece, there is one market area, one delivery area, the same in Slovakia. But if we take an example of the Germany, we have one market area and 4 delivery areas. And the reason is quite clear, because these delivery areas are managed differently. And for example, in Germany, we have 4 TSOs. Each of the TSOs is managing one of the delivery areas. So that's important to understand. Of course, when the order is entered in the end, it goes directly to the market area, and it also has a signal to which delivery areas it belongs. And this is important to understand because that contributes to the organization of the technical aspects, and it impacts the trading in the end. So there are various attributes which are valid either for the market area or the delivery area. If we go to the next slide, so you will see that there is a different configuration depending if we talk about the market area, delivery area, and the connectivity, how it is organized between the market area and delivery areas. So if we talk about the connectivity between just the market areas, we are talking about the configuration per border. But if we go down to the delivery areas, we talk about the interconnectors, and there are different information like, for example, ramping and other details which are quite important. Again, from the perspective of the market participants, it may not be that important. However, it is important for the matching algorithm to reflect all these technicalities because this contributes to the sound market, sound operation, and a stable grid, which is very important for the successful market. If we look on the process from the market participant point of view, we should also understand some other terms. So we've already discussed the terms market area, delivery area. And if we go to the next slide, we would also understand another important terms which are from time to time mixed up together and it's difficult to understand. So the essence for the trading are products and contracts. What that means, how we distinguish those two terms within the SIDC corporation. So product, we can understand that this is a template which describes in the generic way, for example, hourly product, 15-minute product, 30-minute product, but it is just one description for all instances of product. So it will say that the product duration is 1 hour, but it will not provide information when it starts and when it finishes. And in principle, it cannot be used for trading. It's just a template. So what we use for trading are contracts. Contracts, it's a real instance of the product. So if I have hourly product, it means that for each day I have 24 contracts. And that's the subject of the trading. Both products and contracts has specific attributes. The generic attributes belongs to the products, but of course, as I explained, the very detailed information on the trading is with the contract. So if you want to make a trade and you know that you want to buy or sell energy tomorrow between, I don't know, 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., so you have a clarity which contract to select. So that's important to understand when you also discuss these topics with your NEMOs, or when you send questions, or if you will use chat here to clarify certain aspects. It's important to be aligned on the terminology. Now, how we see and how we understand the contract life cycle. So this is the instance of the product, so the concrete instance that can be used for trading. This is shown in the next slide. So you can see that the organization of SIDC is that the contracts for one specific delivery day are open at the same time. Here in this example, you can see it's 3 p.m., the day before delivery, when the contracts are open for trading. And then you can trade it until the trading is closed. Usually it's 1 hour prior to delivery. That's how the setup is done. Of course, it can be modified if there are agreements, but in principle, that's the basic setup. What is important to understand that the closing of the contract or expiry of the contract is different per contract type. So also the information for the contract on the closing price will be available at different times. Maybe some of you might have been present yesterday in the presentation of the annual report, where we were sharing a lot of information on the operational and also on the trading. One of the important information was how the traders are active for or in terms of the contract life cycle. So if I, for example, take the contract number 1, which we have here, it opens at 3 p.m. and it closes, expire at midnight. The statistics clearly show that the majority of the trades are done in last hours, 2 hours prior to the expiry of the contract. So this is also important to understand such as signals, because that also tells you something about the liquidity. So most probably in the period close to the expiry, there would be highest probability to close a contract or to strike a trade for the price which reflects the market situation. Okay, let's go back to the descriptions. So I already described slightly SOB, the modules which we have within the shared order books. So it's also important from the market participants' point of view to understand how the matching works. So this is briefly described in the next slide. So you simply send your send your order to LTS. It is processed, validated, provided to SOB, and then SOB applies certain principles to ensure that the order is properly matched. What are these principles? They are called price times time capacity priority criteria. What it means? The first thing which is validated and which is most important is that the price information is followed. So it means that orders are always executed as the best price. In the situations where there are identical price for different orders, there is another selection criteria, and that's a timestamp. So in principle, first come, first served. So it means that who was earlier in the system, it gets the priority. That's important. At the same time, we need to understand that there are capacity restrictions, as we discussed already as a part of CMM module. So the order can be traded only if there is available capacity. So you may realize that, for example, you send an order with a competitive price. For example, you're trading in several areas, and you may have a feeling that you sent in one area an order with a very competitive price and it was not matched. That may happen because the capacity may not be there and simply the order is isolated, and therefore the matching cannot be executed. So this is also important to understand that we cannot breach these principles. Last thing to be mentioned with regard to SOB are order book views. So there is one consolidated order book, but there are different views how to look into the order book. And those different views reflects particular market areas. And that's important because if you take a general order book which contains everything, it would not help sharing such an information with a particular market participants who trades in the specific area, because he needs to understand the market opportunity from his point of view. And therefore the information in the or from his perspective needs to be enriched by ATCs, and he needs to understand the local view. That's very important. Okay, let's go to the process itself, how it works from the market participants' point of view. So it's very simple. You are connected to the local trading solutions. You submit the order. That's the red arrow number 1. It's validated and processed by the local trading solution and submitted to the engine. So to the exhibits or to the SOB module. Then there are additional validations. The order is stored in the order book, and there are many processes which are done. So there is validation on the available capacity in order to understand if the order may match and what will be the other orders to match with. And if this is completed, then the result is provided back to the local trading solution, which is the arrow number 3, the green one. And such an information is then provided back to the market participants. However, every order in principle may impact all other traders. no matter if it creates the trade, because then it's clear the other counterparty or counterparties are impacted and they need to get information. But even the order may change the order book, and as such, the information needs to be provided to all market participants. So that's the arrow number 4, because the single order, provided that there is sufficient capacity, will be reflected in all order books, and these are provided to all trading solutions and consequently to all market participants. What I haven't mentioned yet when I was talking about the matching, there are also different strategies which needs to be reflected within the trading. So this is also important to be understood and to be reflected. So let's go for that to the next slide. So if we go to the calculation of the order books and things which are linked to that, so in principle, order book calculation enriches the information which we have in the order book with the cross-border information. That's important, because without that, you wouldn't have a real understanding how the situation look like in your market area. As I stated, it implies that there are multiple local views that needs to be updated. At the same time, if there is a trade and the capacity is taken, it also may have impact on all order books. So the calculation needs to reflect that. There needs to always needs to provide the information which reflects available capacity. So that's very important. There are various situations in which this needs to be calculated. It's submission of the order. It's successful matching of the order, or it's even when the order is removed from the order book. So all this impacts the content of the order book and content of the local view. There are also important specifics to be followed, because there may be different strategy when trading. So what is allowed to be used are iceberg orders. So for such orders, you see only part of the quantity. There may be more, but you don't know. But it is important for your strategy, for trading strategy, to have such a tool and to use it where applicable. And there are also orders where you need to specify that all or nothing will be traded. So such a order can be traded in full capacity or nothing. And this is also important because that may be somehow reflected in the local view. And it is also important that given such behavior, it means that there will be somehow providing specific information. Okay, let's go to the end of my part. So we talk a lot about the trading part and CMM. There are also important thing, and that shipping module. I will not hold you here for a long time, just a couple of words. And I think it's quite clear. The shipping module, as stated earlier, ensures that the trading information is enriched with the necessary information that needs to be exchanged between the shipping agents and between the clearing counterparties. So that's important information. And this is a standard, as we are delivering here a commodity in principle. So there is a physical shipping which goes in one direction, and there is a financial shipping which goes in the opposite direction. The method of shipping, it's not that easy, as you can see in this picture, but I think for the basic understanding, this is sufficient. And I also promise to share with you some information on how we are dealing with the increasing demand for the performance. So that would be my very last slide in this part. And yeah, where to start with? When Andre was describing the history, starting somewhere in 2012, going to these days, there were different requirements and different demands for the system. When we started in 2012, the expected number of orders per day were 100,000. Now we are exceeding this number substantially. So in order to keep up with the pace of the trading and with the development of the market, we had to go several times through the increase of the system performance. Now it's important to distinguish a little bit the performance, how this is organized within the SIDC corporation, because one thing is a technical capability of the system, and the other thing is contractual boundaries of the system. So what I will talk about are contractual boundaries. The technical capability of the system is usually higher than the contractual boundaries. So in order to cope with the increase, we've decided already in the past, and that was around the second wave, second business go live, to extend the performance. And there are a couple of important elements. This is a length of the peak, so peak situation where the trading goes to the extreme. We need to understand that from the trading perspective, it's not a plateau where we would have always the same amount of the orders coming into the system, but really the system works in the peaks, then it goes down and there is another peak. Originally, the peak was 1 second, so we extended the peak to 10 seconds. We also have to somehow distinguish between the plateau, so this is called sustainable load, and between the peaks. And for that, we've established that the sustainable load is 40 orders or 40 transaction orders per second. And at the time, we set the system boundaries to 2 million order transactions per day and to trades 200,000. As the market is growing, so we were forced to look into that once more, and we've made an agreement to extend the performance of the system, which is currently under development, or I would say it's in the final phase of testing. We expect that it will go live closely after the 4th business go live. So first we will have 4th business go live, and then we will deploy this improvement. And here we are substantially increasing certain parameters. For example, we have much higher plateau, which will be now 120 order transactions per second. So, you know, what materializes in the past as a peak will not be considered as a peak. And we've also have increased substantially the number of order transactions per day and number of trades per day. So that's what we are going to deliver, I guess, very early 2023. But as we know, the discussion of the performance never stops. So we expect that you will be happy with continuous trading. You will trade more, which consequently will push us to look into this topic once again and to go for further optimizations. But this is something for the future. So that's all from my part. I was a little bit longer here, but I think we are ahead of the schedule. It was a little bit technical, but I think it's important to understand these things, especially if you want to raise some questions or clarification topics via the chat. And now I will hand over floor to Jan Kaiser from the Slovak NIMOS.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. I hope that you can hear me all. So please let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Jan Kaiser and I work as a market development analyst at Octa. And previously I have worked at Octa as market operator during the preparation of 4MC market coupling day ahead project. And today I would like to provide you with a closer look on the status of joining the SIDC project from Octa's point of view. And on the following slides, we will go through basic overview of the borders, market areas, and products which will be available for you after joining the SIDC. So on the first slide, we can see the overview of first, second, and third go-live waves and the parties involved. So we can see individual go-live waves since June 2018, when first go-live wave took place, involving 15 countries, which is highlighted in pink color on the map. The second go-live wave in November 2019 involves also surrounding countries of Slovakia, like Czech Republic, Poland, and Hungary. Other than that, also Bulgaria, Croatia, Romania, and Slovenia joined the SIDC back then. Well, basically, in each of these countries, there was a considerable increase in traded electricity on intraday market after joining the SIDC. The last and third go-live wave took place in September 2021, and that included Italy. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So on this slide, we can see the overview of the fourth go-live wave and parties involved. As well as in the past, local implementation projects have been established, particularly number 14, including NIMOS and NIMO and TSO from Greece, Bulgaria, and Italy. So the borders involved there are Greek-Italian and Greek-Bulgarian. In LIP 17, NIMOS and TSOs from Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Slovakia are of course involved. Slovak Czech, Slovak Polish, and Slovak Hungarian borders are part of fourth go-live wave as well. Therefore, cross-border trading on these borders will be available. We can go to the next slide. So on this slide, we can see a brief overview of the products which are offered in the XBit solution. So XBit system supports 15-minute, 30 minutes, and hourly products, as well as hourly defined blocks. Within Slovakia, however, 15-minute and 60-minute products and user-defined blocks will be offered. The individual products availability is also shown in the table on the next slide. So if I may ask you, thank you. So yeah, on this table, we can see this table is showing the overview of the products offered in particular areas. The minimum volume increment of 0.1 megawatt and price tick of 0.0 megawatt hour, as well as the volume and price range are the same for every area as these are configured centrally. Within fourth go-live wave, as we can see on the right side, Slovakia will offer a 15-minute product, hourly product, and user-defined blocks, and Greece will offer hourly products and also user-defined blocks. Please also keep in mind that by user-defined blocks, only hourly blocks are available, so no 15-minute or 30-minute blocks are possible. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So shown timeline provides outline of particular steps before the actual start of the delivery. So between local market opening and cross-border opening, only a local trading within the area inside the bidding zone is possible. After the actual cross-border opening, trading with all areas connected through open borders is available. Also keeping in mind that the capacity is available as well. After cross-border closing, again, only local trading is possible until the local market closing, after which no trading is possible anymore. Local market and cross-border openings and closing times may differ, and the overview is shown on the next slide. We can go ahead. So on this slide, we can see cross-border capacities and actual timings. So concerning the Slovak borders, which are part of a core region, as it is shown on the table, the gate opening time will not change, and it stays at 3 p.m. Daily. And cross-border capacity will be made available at 10 p.m. We can go ahead on the next slide, when we can see also different times which are used, and this is of course depending on the relevant region. I guess we can go on the next slide. So as previously mentioned, opening time for Slovakia stays at 3 p.m. and closing times will be 30 minutes before the actual delivery. This applies for 15-minute, 60-minute products and also user-defined blocks products. 15-minute cross-border trading will be for now possible only on a Slovak-Hungarian border. Well, this sums up my input, and I thank you very much for your attention. And I believe that we will hear each other after the lunch break. So I give word back to Kata. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all. So as I see, there is no question in the chat box. If you have any question, just please type it there, and we can answer you right now. But actually, you can do it during the lunch break and during the whole webinar. So if there is no question now, then I would just say that the lunch break is starting a bit earlier. And then we are waiting you back at 1 p.m. Okay, so thank you. This is the lunch break then.